Perfect. Hi everyone, my name is Emin. Say your names.
Oh, Gabriel.
Luis Mendoza.
Edgardo Flores.
Okay, perfect. And our project is based on wildlife conservation efforts in Southern African countries. So Southern Africa is home to breathtaking landmarks, abundant natural resources, and the world's most endangered species. So after the colonial era, it was very difficult for newly independent countries to maintain their natural habitats due to the alarming conflicts and increasing national debt. All the countries face major overlapping issues, so we decided to focus on challenges in each country and the specific solutions they have implemented. The solutions presented have the success in their respective countries, but it is important to remember that due to the magnitude of these issues, the illegal activities are still going to be happening and still will continue, unfortunately. The country of South Africa has the largest population of rhinos on the continent, but they are dwindling due to poachers. Despite the constant pressure from animal rights groups, government legislation that encourages antique ivory trade has not been repealed, accelerating the poaching. Demand from Asian countries that use ivory as status symbols and substitutions for medicine is also adding on to this issue. Solutions that have worked to combat poaching have been implemented by public and private foundations alike, providing the capital to purchase cameras, metal detectors, ATVs, and Humvees to use in their reserves. With proper training, the rangers can use DNA technology to link carcasses to confiscated horns, increasing the amount of, oh, okay. No. The rangers can use DNA technology to link carcasses to confiscated horns, increasing the amount of rangers in the heavily targeted areas, and this alone has decreased poaching by about a fourth. So another solution to decrease poaching in South Africa is to encourage conservation-friendly business practices by China. Increased economic ties between the two has put pressure on China to advocate for awareness-raising campaigns to decrease the ivory trade. While illegal activities still continue, implementing these solutions has curbed many poachers. So Mozambique is a country that has suffered from war and corruption since its independence. About 3/4 of its wildlife was destroyed in this bloody civil war, and most of the population has not recovered from its effects. 75% of Mozambicans are forced to small-scale farm as a result. The government realizes the effects of the war, so it has taken conservation efforts. But most importantly, Mozambicans must be provided more opportunities to pursue sustainable livelihoods that take steps towards conservation. Reorienting small-scale farming to boost economic growth has helped tremendously. Assisting farmers to adopt new practices, increase output without overusing resources to help maintain ecological integrity. And linking these farmers to nearby markets provides incentives to continue these practices and is key for Mozambique's future.
Yeah, one thing, we would have covered it in class if we were in class, but the farmers there, we kind of read it in the one article where a lot of their land's getting taken over by, like in one case by Brazil, but on the border with Tanzania, they found a big natural gas field, and it's supposed to bring in like billions of dollars into the Mozambique economy. But in that part, it's just started to get hit by Islamic extremist fundamentalist groups that are calling themselves, IS groups, but they're not really associated with them. And it's causing a lot of issues there. And again, as you guys pointed out, it's one of the very poorest nations in Africa, and the farmers especially. It's what 75% of the population's engaged in
At
farming,
least
I think.
75%.
Yeah, and it's these things, because the gas fields are going to drive out the farmers, then plus the conflicts now with these fundamentalist groups are causing all kinds of issues there in Mozambique, which is a shame. It's a beautiful, beautiful country and great surf too, actually. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so Eamon, are you going to be switching the slides while I speak?
Oh yeah, I got it. Don't worry.
Okay. So Zimbabwe used to be a leading tourist destination due to its abundance of wildlife and its massive forests. But due to the unsustainable use of natural resources, critical habitats are facing this extinction. Rural communities are cutting trees down to use as firewood, and in tandem, farmers are in need of wood and fuel at an alarming rate to farm tobacco. Both actions are causing food security issues because damaged soil is unable to grow crops. Land use plannings implemented by private foundations, then adapted by the government, develops frameworks to meet local land use and needs. Communities limit harmful practices by designating their land as a conservation area. These community-driven conservation areas provide local employment, and benefits go directly back to the people. Instead of cutting down trees, they use the wildlife to their benefit with structured and financial support from foundations. Permitting these land use practices has also brought down the effects of tobacco to caring, because farmers are now incentivized to use efficient post-harvest techniques. Being home to the largest elephant population, Botswana experiences many of the same issues with South Africa faces with its rhinos. The demand for hold on.
Ivory.
Yeah, ivory kills 30,000 elephants every year, driving the species to their lowest numbers since recording started. Sniffer canines have been deployed in Botswana mass transit sites to combat the illegal trade, trained to intercept even the smallest piece of illegal product. These canines have made it for more difficult to smuggle ivory out of exit and entry points. They are also a great tool for collecting evidence to prosecute wildlife abuse cases, so ensuring the canine evidence contributes to convicting is crucial in Botswana.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about Namibia. And Namibia has been known to house some of the most diverse flora and fauna. And it also includes the world's oldest desert in the Namib. There are very popular geographical attractions in the area, such as the Brandberg Mountain Range and the Great Escarpment. These two, along with the diverse flora and fauna, have given Namibia a reputation as a very popular tourist destination. Through sustainable tourism, Namibia has found ways to help in the effort to conserve wildlife, and they specifically use community-driven ecotourism and land use framework that is also used in Zimbabwe. And the landowners close to the park can join the area under conservation and expand it to help it. Members of the conservancies set tourist fee revenue and equipment rent revenue, expensive tourist fees to track endangered species across the protected land. And this has also generated millions for social services, education, land infrastructure in many communities. So on to Zambia. Zambia is one of the poorest countries in the world, despite having a ton of natural resources. This has caused the country's infrastructure to be weak and without a proper education system. Almost half, 47% of the children in Zambia never finish primary school. Education is not only a right, but a positive tool to break the cycle of poverty and conserve wildlife and increase the health in that. So building schools in high conservation value areas and incorporating environmental education in learning activities has contributed to reforestation efforts around the communities. With curriculum focused on conservation values, children won't grow up forced to exploit the land.
All right, on to Angola. So Angola is a country filled with political turmoil, and it's been and has suffered from a brutal civil war. With peace finally setting after years of war, competing groups inside the country are trying to lobby the government every which way possible. The government has made promises of big changes that have yet to be seen. If the government has intentions to curb wildlife destruction, leaders should incorporate development agendas seen in other African nations, and also leave a seat for wildlife at the table in every infrastructure discussion. Optimizing conservation and development to work together will get Angola back on track. Now to the island country of Madagascar. It is home to many wildlife reserves like Omoro Tondo Reserve up in the North Country. These parks are essential because more than 75% of Madagascar's biodiversity is only found there. Along with that, more than 700 million in funding has rushed into the country, but many international funders are actually reconsidering their support, mostly due to coup d'etat attempts and political instability. With cuts coming to wildlife protection programs, it's important for parks to strategically expand because protected areas are often too small and unconnected from each other. Connecting parks makes animal corridors, which are basically like animal bridges, a thing of the past, as wildlife is free to travel from one area to another. Revenue would also benefit from this due to tourists not having to jump from park to park, making it an inconvenience. These actions have proven to make a difference and should be implemented whenever possible.
All right. And these are the sources that we've used, and that's our presentation. Thank you.
Okay, all good job. Thank you very much. So, hey, Parnika or Ben, I see you guys are there. Any questions or anything? Okay, y'all. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I don't think I have anything.
Okay,
Sorry.
no problem. Okay, y'all, great. Yeah, thank you very much. And I'm going to stop the recording here.